What's up, everybody? So, as promised, I'm here to answer questions about repatriation. I've done like 100 posts trying to do it via text, but it always gets all convoluted, and you got all kind of trolls and people who just don't know how to look at something they disagree with and move on with their life. So, I like this form a little bit better, where I'll be able to just take a look at people's questions, try to keep up, and answer as best I can. And this way, when so many people have the same question, they don't have to ask it over and over and go looking through the comments. So, and my nephew's here with me. Say what up, Marcus.
Hey.
That's my little nephew, Marcus. He has some questions too about going to Africa, so I figured he could sit here and listen to everybody else and, learn. Alright. So we already was sitting here playing a game. So we just gonna sit here and chill and do us, and look for questions, and we'll see how that goes. The topic of the day is moving back to Africa. I moved back to Ghana in 2013. My first visit to there was 2012. Let's see, have I ever been to Ghana before? Yeah. My first visit was 2012. I went there. I was supposed to stay for 10 days. I ended up staying for like 3 weeks. And then I immediately went back. After I came back to the U.S., I went back maybe 9 months later and stayed for good, or for what I thought was for good. I stayed there for about 3 years, and I'm back in the States now with my family and preparing to go back. Steps do I take once I get my passport? If you got your passport, that's like the hardest thing that you'll have to do. So if you've already gotten through that, then good. You about like 90% of the way there. The first thing you should do now is go to, like, there's a website I use called GhanaVisaHouston.com. Go there and you just like fill out this little application. It's like $60, or you pay $100 for expedited if you plan on leaving within 2 weeks. Otherwise, you just pay the $60 and you send your passport and your you have to get a vaccination for yellow fever, or either you get the exemption to not take it, and then you send that in, and within 5 to 10 days you'll get your visa back. It'll be stamped inside your passport. So if you already got the passport, then that's number one. Hallelujah. Hey Jana, what's up? Can a felon get there? That's a tricky one. I don't want to say because I'm not sure. One of my uncles asked me the same question, and I told him to go and check it out. I mean, it's not like they're going to arrest you for trying to figure it out. I know there are some. I think in some cases, if they let you get a passport, then you halfway there. There's other countries that might have restrictions on what kind of felonies you can't have. Like, I know there's some countries where if you have murder, like, they're not going to let you in. There's some countries that are big on drug trafficking, where if you have something with drugs on your record, they're not going to let you in. But I can't be sure about that. I would always just check first to see if you can get a passport. Start with that for step one. What's the dollar ratio? It changes often. When I first went there, $1, the Ghanaian version of the dollar is called the cedi, CEDI. When I first went there, $1 was 2 cedis. And then when I came back and went right back, $1 was 3 cedis, and now today $1 is almost 4 cedis. So it changes, like, from, I would say, like, every 3 months you can see a major change in the cost of things from the dollar shifting up and down. The hardest thing adjusting to life in Ghana was within the first 3 months, the heat. You literally will like shed a new layer of skin for Africa. But once you get that over with, like, you will love it. Like, your skin is always clear. You don't have to wear lotion. You don't have to like go over excessive with like chapsticks and like all this and that. Like, your skin, like the vitamin D, it comes through. Let's see. Up now, kicking it. Join, thank you. Can't wait to go to Ghana. Lauren, you going next year? You already got all your paperwork and stuff together? Oh yeah, and I got to. It's actually a whole lot easier than a lot of people think. Like, for me, I knew for sure I was going. A lot of people, they don't know. You know, they can procrastinate, they drag it out. A passport, a regular processed passport, takes like 6 weeks. So for me, I was ready to go. I bought my ticket ahead of time, which once you have that, that means you can get your passport expedited. You can get it the same day. And once you have your passport in your hand, you can get your visa within a matter of days. So you buy your ticket ahead of time, and once you got your ticket, you go to the State Department. You show them that you have bought a ticket in advance. You plan on being in this other country by this date. Once you do that, you know, there's two options. If you've come from a far place, like I actually came on the train from Maryland to Pennsylvania to get my passport done at the State Department there, because for some reason or another, State Department in DC wasn't giving out any new passports until December 21st or some crap like that. So because I came from a far place, they had me wait 3 hours. They told me to go to a bar, have a drink or something like that, come back, and you know, by then I guess that's how long it took to verify my information. But long story short, I walked out of the State Department with the passport that day. After that, I gave a young lady earlier, there's a website called Ghana Visa Houston, Ghana Visa Houston, like Houston, Texas.com. And what they do is once you've got a passport, you send put in the mail, fill out an application on the website, ship in what they tell you, and they'll send you back your passport with a visa in it approved to go to Ghana. Once you've got both those things and you've got your ticket, so this is all within a matter of maybe 2 weeks total that it took me to start and leave the country. You know, once you're over there, for us particularly, it's really easy. Like, they have what's called residency, where it's not quite citizenship yet, but there's not really that much of a difference between the two. You can extend your visa. Your visa that you get, you'll either get it for 30 days or 90 days. And once you get there into the country, you can extend it. It costs about $50 a month, 50 Ghana dollars a month with 50 cities, which is about what right now $12 or $13 a month to extend your visa for as long as you want to stay, until you decide that you actually, you know, you've got yourself established, you got a place, you got some income, and you want to stay for good. Then you can go ahead and apply for residency. With residency, the requirement is that you either have to have some kind of you have to either have a house there that you build or that you pay for, or you have to have a business that employs local. If you got one of the two, then you'd be good. Let's see. Trying to catch up to some of these other questions. Sorry, give me a second. Way to go to Ghana. All right. Thank you, Ashley. Okay. So when the dollar collapses, what will be the spending power of Ghanaian currency? That's a question. I guess we might as well get into it. Right now, every country has to pay for its oil with the U.S. dollar. That's the stranglehold that the dollar has on every country right now. So really, no matter what resources a country has or whatever its currency is worth, they have to purchase even their own oil with the U.S. dollar. That's what it means when the U.S. dollar is the world reserve currency. So like right now in Ghana, $1 is 4 cities. So like the price of gas, for instance, you'll see it up on the gas stations. It'll be in liters, but it'll equate out to 4 times what that amount is. So no matter what, the dollar has a stranglehold on not just Ghana but every country. So if the dollar collapses, or when the dollar collapses, every country is going to feel it. So the spending power of whatever paper-based currency that's based on the dollar is going to bomb right with the dollar. So Ghana's currency and everybody else's, which is why it's such a push right now for us to get off of paper money and onto some kind of actual solid currency that's based on something and backed by something or worth something. So that's a whole nother topic, but yeah, the spending power of Ghanaian currency along with everybody else's currency that's based on paper and nothing is going to drop right with the dollar. How have your life changed since you went there? In so many ways. Just by stepping on the soil, you feel like a difference. You feel like, okay, I'm on the continent. You meet people, you feel like a difference in just culture. You learn another language, you try some different foods. I mean, you just have a different experience. I mean, your life changes in a lot of ways. I feel like just knowledge and breaking stereotypes that you really can't break without actually being in a place that you've been told things about that, you know, weren't true. So I feel like a lot of barriers have been broken. A lot of old worldviews I've had have changed. And I feel like I'm developing faster into, you know, the person that I'm supposed to be. Since I have the visa, which I'll do in a couple of months. What do you do for a living while living in Ghana? When I first got, it's funny. When I first got to Ghana, I just kind of wanted to have like any job. I wanted to just get established, just be able to say that I'm living in Africa and have the whole euphoria moment of that. But when I got there, I saw like so many people that own their own businesses. Like just about every Ghanaian, every local person there had their own shop. Like whatever it is that they do, you know, that's what they do for business. You know, you have the lady who's good with doing nails. She has a nail shop. The guy who fixes cars. The guy who washes cars. The guy who does, you know, graphic design. Guys who do artwork. The guys who, you know, cook. The ladies who, I mean, there's everything. Everybody has their own business. It's almost unheard of, you know, to be out, you know, sitting at home every day, putting in applications and, you know, this, that, and the third, you know. The family that I was staying with when I first went, for instance, they have a restaurant that they have open on their courtyard. Their kids work there. And, you know, oh my gosh, help the lady get Raya. Oh, my niece, she fell down. Give me a second, guys. You got her? Her dad's got her. So anyway, so as opposed to trying to get a job there, what I ended up doing was starting my own company. I was inspired by seeing so many people do it. So my background, as some people know, is in business administration, business management, and the girl who, one of my co-workers who actually invited me to the country, okay, give me a second. Everybody meet my mom. This is Miss Monique. Hi, Mom. Say hi to the world. I'm live.
Boy.
So, Mom has a question for me, so everybody has to hold on a second. Marcus, talk to the world for just a moment. Yes, Mother.
I wanted you to do something, but you can if you're lying. He'll get that headboard and footboard and the table out my car.
Okay, I'm not coming back. All right. So, my co-worker's brother is an architect by trade. He's gone to school for it, and he was doing it for a while. And he actually had like a side business there. When I got there, he would do like drawings and architecture on the side. So when I got there, the two of us, we became good friends. The family really likes me. I stayed with them for the first like 6 months of me being there. They showed me like the language, the foods, the culture, everything. I mean, they're my family now, basically. So the two of us got together. We started the company, and just from the beginning, like we would just do drawings. We were doing churches, banks, schools, just small projects. My chief designer right now, he says that he can do basically anything except for a stadium, which I said is awesome. But it's like, okay, now let's figure out how to do a stadium next. Then, you know, let's be that company. So we started that, and that's pretty much what brings in the income in Ghana, which is great. But like we talked about earlier, the way the money translates, it kind of sucks because sending money to the U.S. divides by 4, but sending money across to Ghana multiplies by 4. So you always got that. What are the ingredients of the vaccine? Are they safe? Obviously, you know, anybody who's been following me for any amount of time, I don't condone any vaccines. I will just call it by divine intervention. Didn't have to do it. So I would say if there's a way that you can find that you don't have to do it, great. But it's not as bad as a lot of people think as far as when you go to Africa, you have to get 100 shots. No. As far as I only speak to the country that I know, Ghana. I was only asked to take 1 shot for yellow fever. And there is no yellow fever in Ghana. The reason that the vaccine actually even exists is because the same reason all the other ones do. A scare tactic comes out and then they make the vaccine mandatory. Short history on it. There was supposedly 2 cases of what they called yellow fever maybe like 50 years ago in Ghana. Though even those 2 people who were the ground zero of the supposed disease didn't die. But then they made it mandatory that everyone get the yellow fever vaccine. So 5 million people got the yellow fever vaccine over a course of however many months. And right after that, I think about 200 or somewhere 20,000, somewhere over 100,000 people died from that. So from 2 people who came out with some disease that they didn't even die from, came a vaccine that was mandatory for 5 million people, and then 100,000 or so odd people died from that. So right now the vaccine is still mandatory, but obviously I don't condone it. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't think that it makes sense to anyone else. A lot of changes have recently come through in Ghana where, you know, the public has pushed for some new age awakening changes, like, you know, the changes with the visa requirements being lifted across the continent. So maybe we'll see something like this coming next where, you know, they're not requiring us to get shot up with stuff that we don't necessarily believe in just to come into the country. But there are ways around it. I'll just say that. I saw your pics from when you went. That sold me on going. I tried to make sure I sent pictures and videos back every day because of that very reason. Like, you know, people got one idea of what it's like, and it's just nothing like that. So I'm glad that you got a chance to see it. How the people in the motherland treat you. Man, when I tell you, it's just like I've never felt like so welcome, like in a place where, me being a person, like I've moved all my life. I stay moving to a new city or a new region or a new school or whatever the case may be. And there's always like this adjustment period where you pretty much have to figure out how do people act on this side of town? How do people act in this city or, you know, whatever the case may be. I just felt like from the time I got off the plane, I was like at home. You know what I mean? From the time where, you know, they speak English, so it's not like this immediate language barrier, but I felt like even if it was, I would know. Like you could feel the intentions of the people are good. You know, it was really a really good experience. And once so there are 2 different experiences though. There's the tourist experience, even for, you know, us black folks. There's still a tourist experience and a real experience. You know, when you first come, you know, everybody assumes that you're a tourist. They're like, you know, they just assume, but at the same time, you still get welcome. But the things they want to show you are different. They want to show you what they think every tourist wants to see. They want to show you the popular tourist attractions, you know, where you can get some American type food that you know, that they think you'll eat or whatever the case may be. But once you've been there for a little while and you got people who've seen you several times a day and they know that you actually plan on being there, they see you eating their food, they see you trying to learn the language, they see you really trying to, you know, you want to be, you know, you trying to reconnect, you know, then it's another experience. They start showing you other types of things. That's when I first got invited to the slave dungeons. I don't want to interrupt the story by jumping off on that, but I'll just say that once they realized that I wanted to stay, I had a whole nother experience shown to me. I was more like an honor. You know, it's seen as an honor that one of the descendants of the people that were dragged away from there was able to come back and actually did it of their own volition. So, you know, with all the distractions and how hard it's being made and the financial restrictions and the visas and everything else that gets in the way and the media telling us not to even want to look this way and this and that, to overcome all that and actually come and want to stay, they honor that. So don't be fooled. I don't know who's out here spreading these rumors about what and what and what, but the people in Motherland treated me great, and it, you know, that was from the time I got there on out. So, approximate cost, visitor working visa. You can get a visitor or a school visitor or a what is it? Residency visa. But working visa, you would have to get you'd have to go there first and get a job, and then get a visa, a working visa like that. When you apply at Ghana Visa Houston or something like that, you'll see on the application it asks you, is it for residency or is it for vacation? But work won't be an option. You have to actually go there first and prove that you have a job or you have a job offer, and then something like that. I want to live permanently. Let's see. I'm going to cry. How do I get a house there? There's a lot of different ways. You can like rent. Are you trying to rent or buy? Let me know about that, and I'll look down and try to answer if you answer that down later. U.S. dollars isn't going to be world currency long, sweetie. Yeah, I'm well aware it's not going to be world currency very long, but right now it is, and we got to live with the consequences until we all feel like, you know, we're fed up enough to get up and do something about it. So right now it is the world currency. Can a business owner take their business there and be successful? Absolutely. Especially depending on what kind of business it is. I want to try to jump through some more of these questions, so let me try to give a quick answer. The two biggest industries right now in Ghana are construction, obviously, and energy conversion. There's been a whole lot of hype and issues lately especially for the last 5-6 years with power, with there being issues between the power plants and the power dam and hydroelectric power and everything not having enough to power the entire country at one time, which has a lot to do with us not having power and control over our oil, which we touched on, but we'll get back to that. But yes, between those two industries, construction and power conversion and every other type of industry that has to support those two industries, there's a lot of business, and especially in service, tourism, everything, you know, it just depends what it is you're trying to do, but you can definitely bring your business there and be successful. If nothing else, just with the way the money translates and the way that things don't cost as much and the way that there's not as much heavy taxing and, you know, just the cost of living in office space. I mean, yes, you can come there with your business and be very successful. How are the schools there? There's a lot of schools. There's public and private schools. It goes all the way up from kindergarten all the way up. I mean, it's kind of similar to the way our school system is set up nowadays, which is good and bad, but they're schools. Most of them are uniform schools, so you just have to pretty much buy a uniform, pay school fees, and find the school that's in the region that you want to live in. But it's pretty much just about all the kids go to school. And one thing I like, touching on schools, one thing I noticed is that they actually learn some really relevant stuff. By the time kids over there, first of all, like the average 5 or 6 year old can speak like 3 or 4 languages, which is 3 or 4 of their own local languages, and then English, your language. You'll be sitting there struggling trying to learn their language, their one language plus yours, and they're speaking circles around you in your own language and theirs, and they're 6, 7 years old. And then with middle school students, by the time they graduate, one of my Ghanaian brothers, he's in middle school. He just graduated, and he already can tell you more about electrical circuiting and, you know, I mean, obviously more than I would know, but he can tell you more than about that than the average person in a technical college in the U.S. And these are the things that they're learning in middle school over in Ghana. So the schools are, I would say, really good. Dreamscapes. I'm very interested in Ghana. Got business there. Good idea. Starting a business in Ghana is a good idea. Did you have trouble getting into Ghana without the yellow fever? No. I'll just say that if you could find a way to do that, I mean, if you have an objection to it, then they have options for that. Fast forward to Ebola and Zika. Well, that's a whole nother conversation, and we all know where that's going. But anybody who doesn't, don't get the Ebola vaccine, don't get a Zika vaccine, don't support sending troops into any country to fight against diseases and this and that and blah, blah, blah. So, okay. Moving on. Are you planning on going back as soon as humanly possible? I mean, if I could instant transmission teleport, that's where I'd be. How is the economic condition there? Are Africans completely in charge? As everybody knows, there is not a single place on the planet where Africans are completely in charge. Ghana is no exception to that. The economic condition is that, like we were talking about earlier, the dollar right now is still in control of everything, and right now a dollar is for Ghana City. So just to put that into perspective, a person would have to work 4 times as hard to get anything that requires petroleum. So think about that. Petroleum is everything. So, but what I'll say is, in spite of all of that, there's still a thriving economy, and people are still able to make a living and do what they do, which lets me know that if we can do that and have a thriving economy, even in a stranglehold like that, then imagine what happens when we get even 50% of our economy under our own control. You know, so we got to fight for that. But, you know, right now the economic condition is definitely manageable, and the more and more of us that come here, the more that can improve. Right now, Ghana is like the hub for African Americans who are leaving the United States and trying to come back to Africa. It's like the place. So the economic condition is stable. And it's a good place to actually invest, especially if you are in construction or energy conversion or anything like that that supports one of those 2 industries. I came in late. Are you still there now? I'll be visiting Ghana this July 10th. Population control and extermination of the black people. That is another topic. We'll get to that. I'll be very interested in hearing about the slave dungeons. Okay, yeah, and we'll get to that. You're welcome to Mombasa, Kenya, hosting guide you. Thanks a lot, Samuel, for the invitation. I do actually want to come to Kenya. I've heard great things. I've heard it's actually one of the only other countries, or no, I won't say only, one of the other countries that's making a big deal about trying to invite African Americans back home. So I salute that for sure. Is farming a successful business in Ghana? It is, especially if you are willing to actually put forth your capital and buy the land just for farming, and then use it for farming. And it's definitely a good industry. There's always a need for food to be grown, so for sure. Especially a lot of these questions too, as far as businesses and profit and this and that and the other, it's all about if you plan on living in Ghana or if you plan on trying to come back to the USA and bring money back. If you're trying to bring money back, you're pretty much going to have to either be a loan shark or be some kind of multinational conglomerate that has businesses everywhere, because the money translates by 4, and then you got taxes and international this and that. There's no way. So, but if you plan on staying in Ghana, you can pretty much, as long as you are working and turning a profit and making money and working every day, you're going to be fine. If I have nothing but my passport and the clothes on my back, can I just come there and find work? A lot of people do it every day. A lot of people, even who were born there, find themselves with not even a passport, and just the clothes on their back. So, yes, you can definitely find work. I mean, even if you have to work for someone, if you have to get side jobs, what do you know how to do? Do you weld? Do what exactly is your skill set? You can definitely find work, regardless of what it is that you do. There's always a need for something. If you've got able body, there's work to do. That's something I've actually seen there. What they say is everybody's got to hustle, and they do. Everybody's doing something, man. Like when you get up in the morning and look around the city, look around the country, everybody's doing something. Everything that's got to get done is getting done by somebody. You know what I mean? So, of course, if you got an able body, you can come there and get work done. Make a living for yourself. Get some food, get in the house. The cost of living. You're talking about, for instance, my apartment is $1,200 for 2 years. $1,200 for 2 years. It was $1,200 for 2 years when I first got my lease 2 years ago. But now the dollar has changed again, like we talked about. And now when I renew my lease coming up, it'll be $800 to renew for the next 2 years. So, when you're talking about the cost of living and, can I just come and work? Once you've established yourself and have a place to stay, everything else is just food every day. Keep your electricity on, but you don't have this daily hustle or this mindset every 30th of the month, like, oh, shoot, the rent's due. What am I going to do? You're able to live in another zone and, worry about more relevant issues. Has anyone come with children and made it? And how much are school fees? Like I said, Ghana's like the hub for African Americans who've come. So there's actually in Ghana alone, there's over 10,000 that live on land reserved for African Americans. And then just throughout Ghana and other places, people like me, who knows how many, so a lot of them have kids and they're in school. School fees, I can't imagine it being a lot. I can't say exactly because I didn't go to school there and I don't have kids to go to school there. But I know the family I'm staying with is not by any means rich, and their kids are in school. So I know that it's possible and it's affordable. The local language. I've been hearing some Igbo through other friends in Nigeria. The local language in Ghana, I live in Tema, which the neighborhood I live in is called Sakamono. There are so many different languages in Ghana that literally, you go to a different region or a different neighborhood, you'll be speaking a different dialect of a language. But the main language is called Twi. It's TWI, Twi. But each country in Africa has over between 2 to 3, 4, 500 languages apiece, and that's not an exaggeration. You can look it up, Google it, ask somebody who lives there. Hundreds of languages per country. But my region, they speak Tree. I have been getting pretty good at learning it. I had to learn some of it, of course, just to be able to, function. You don't want to always be standing around people who are talking in another language and you don't know what they're saying. So, but yeah, the local language is Twi. There's also Fanti, Ewe, Ga, and then obviously English is a spoken language in the country. So, most people learn it for tourism purposes. Some people know it from their parents. Some people learn it in school. Unfortunately, it was a requirement for kids to learn it in school up until recently, like as in last year, the end of last year, where Ghana lifted that. The Minister of Education lifted the requirement that English be taught to kids in school, which I think is just great. So your construction company is local to the United States? No, my construction company was started in Ghana. It has nothing to do with the United States whatsoever. And it's fully owned by myself and my Ghanaian business partner. So it's half Ghanaian owned, half African American, quote unquote African American owned. But no, it's not local to the United States. I think any country in Africa should accept all descendants of slavery because the felonization of black men in America is keeping a lot of us stuck here. Have you heard of something like that? Any programs? Seminole Friedman, please. I'm glad you asked, and I hope there's everybody's listening because that's an important question. And the answer is yes. And it's sad that a lot of people still don't know about these programs, but obviously the media is not run by people who want us to know about stuff like this. So there's two programs that I personally know about, and I know it's hard to find out about them because I didn't even know until I went to Ghana. I had already spent my own money to get an apartment and get a job, get office space and this and that before I found out that they were giving it away. So for African Americans, and not just African Americans, but I'm talking about African Caribbeans, African Ricans, African Haitians, everyone who got off at any stop where the boats went. You are considered a diaspora African. And what that means is that you are entitled, to return. So what they have is there's two programs. One is called the Ghana Joseph Project. This project, in the beginning, it was riddled with a whole bunch of corruption and it was on both sides. You have people who, the way the program was supposed to be set up is that you sign up, you are offered a set amount of land. You can either come and move, you can use it to start a business, whatever the case may be, but you're supposed to come back to Ghana. So a lot of people were taking advantage of the program to actually get land. Start a business, and then move back to the U.S. and take the money being made by the business and bring it back to the U.S. Essentially, taking capital out of the country, which is the opposite of what the program was for. So now it's no longer heavily advertised, and you pretty much have to know about it to become a part of it. But it's called the Ghana Joseph Project. You can look it up. You can talk to the consulate. You can ask about it at the embassy. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to talk to the chief or the chairman of the region that you want to stay in to be finalized into the program. But they're giving land away in that program. And then there's another program called the Fihankra Project, which it started off with a whole bunch of controversy. But a lot of chiefs in Ghana, what you'll find is that the chief actually wants to have authority over the land and the law. So a lot of chiefs had or one particular chief or his people had agreed to donate this plot of land for people to return, diaspora Africans to return, and they named it Fihankra, which means when saying goodbye, when leaving home, no goodbyes could be said. So that was in reference to us and the slave trade and us being taken. And that's the name they gave to the plot of land. And so it's there for diaspora Africans to return as well. So those are two examples of projects that you can look up and find out more about if you are interested in having assistance in returning, because those are two examples of such programs. Ghanaian, I'm urging you to come back home. Quadro, thank you. I mean, I want more of our Ghanaian brothers and sisters to get on here and tell them, what you think about it. I mean, I'm an African American who moved there and is giving my opinion, but there's people who still have doubts or might think I have a biased opinion, or maybe I had this sandy experience that, it's just my fault. I had a great time, so let everyone else, give their opinions too. You have recommendations as to who to trust when purchasing land? Oh man, nobody. No, I'm kidding. Either go through a reputable firm, which is one way to know for sure that you're going to get the land that you pay for, but they are going to juice you because you are from the U.S. and they know how much land and property costs here. They know how much you would be mentally prepared to spend, and they're going to get it from you. The riskier way, but it depends. If you personally know somebody, you can still be okay. Whereas you just go through someone who knows where land is available. And the same way I would be walking down the street and see a house for rent and be able to let you know. But we're talking about another country, so it's not quite as simple as that. You want to know who you're talking to. So if you were lucky enough to know a person like that and they were able to tell you that there's a plot of land available and this is the price of it, that they would charge a local Ghanaian, you can really you can come out good that way. I need some Ghana clothes. Inbox me. I got a guy for that, of course. Ghana clothes, Ghana jewelry. If you want it to be authentically Ghanaian, You know, because one of the things that kind of ticks me off that I see a lot of times on the internet is like people will post like this pharaoh necklace, this gold pharaoh necklace with diamond eyes, and then you'll have all the, you know, all our conscious brothers and sisters on there just, oh, I bought mine last week, I'm getting mine for all my kids. And then, you know, the first question I want to ask is, okay, so who makes this? Where is this coming from? Who's getting the money for this? Are we turning around doing the opposite thing? So, you know, if I fully encourage this whole movement where everybody's starting to wear Ghanaian clothes or African clothes and embrace the culture or whatever, but do it the smart way and make sure you're not turning right back around and supporting, you know, what you're trying to not support. Just be smart about it. So yeah, Ghanaian clothes and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, inbox me. I'll try to hook you up or put you in touch with somebody who can get you the real stuff. Trying to do that with children will be hard. Coming with nothing and children. Well, we also got to be smart about the situation. You don't want to come with absolutely nothing. I mean, you want to right now, if we allow ourselves to get to the point where we have to go with nothing, then look, you know, we're gonna have to be all we got. But right now we at a point where you got a little, I mean, I don't even want to say we got time because nobody need to get comfortable. But you got a point where you can get prepared and leave this place. You know what I mean? You got your children, y'all in good health. If you got all your limbs, you know, hey, let's get it together. You know, reach out to each other for help, do whatever we got to do. But we got a little time, and we need to. If we make that our first priority, we'll get it done. Make that your priority, like we make freaking, I don't know, I don't want to stereotype, but just make it a priority, and it'll get done. What do you know about Liberia? Is it a good place to move and invest in? I know a little bit about Liberia. I have never been there, so I can't say about moving there or investing in it. But it has an interesting history and its struggles that it constantly goes through. It's intentionally induced struggles that are placed on it, you know, have a lot to do with the fact that, you know, it was started or it began with ex-American slaves, you know, and it couldn't be seen as a success or a beacon for us to look forward to. So, you know, whatever struggles or whatever things it's going through are definitely being put there as an example for us to think about that when we think about moving to Africa or starting our own. What do you do there? What's the price of living? You probably missed it. I'll just real quick again. I do architecture and design, and the price of living. I pay $1,200 every 2 years for my 2-bedroom apartment. Let's see. Coming straight there. All right, J Mel. Hope to see you. What about college to become a neurosurgeon there? They've got all kind of colleges. Most people for like advanced colleges like that, if they want to stay on the continent, they'll either go to Kenya. They have some prestigious universities in Ghana that could definitely teach you stuff like that. But most people just like to have a degree that says it came from somewhere else. So most people go to Kenya, even Cairo, to go to get prestigious like doctorates like that. But you definitely, it's possible and it can happen. Those are like a flight away. How are there as many different religions there? Yes, there's actually. It's pretty simple. It's not as complex as America's religion system, but it's similar. You've got a lot of Christians, you've got a lot of Muslims, you've got a lot of people who practice the traditional religions, and then you've got people who don't have any religion at all. So, and there's no quarrel between them. There's no big issue. Nobody's forced to choose. You know, families aren't torn apart over the issue. You know, it just is what it is, you know, and I've got so many friends in Ghana of so many different religions, Mormons, you know, we just laugh and talk. And, you know, actually some of my friends, one in particular, Mama FY, I don't know if you're watching, but if you are, I'm talking about you. She took me to her church, the Mormon church, and she knows good and well I don't agree with 99.999% of what I heard in there, and she doesn't get offended when I bring it up or laugh about it or talk about it or whatever the case may be. You know, it's not the same, you know, as it is here. The religious atmosphere. You know, people worship what they worship, and it is what it is. But overall, the traditional religions still reign supreme. And when I say that, what I mean is there are certain like days that have been set aside for forever, you know, for thousands of years, and they are still in effect. You know, certain days where, you know, it's such and such sacred day, you don't play loud music. No one plays loud music. I don't care if you are Christian or Muslim or your religion is loud music. You don't play loud music on that day. You know, so there's the religious culture. It's different, but it has its similarities. It's nothing that you can't, you know, quickly get a grasp of and see what you are immersing yourself into. Had a great time in Accra, going back soon. Yeah, I hear that a lot. I wish I had funds to move there. I'm sick of living here. This racist place is not meant for us, and I will be glad to go back to Africa. I feel homesick every time I even think about not being. See more about not being there. Yeah, man, Roderick, I feel you. I mean, it doesn't cost as much as people think. Again, I don't want to take up the whole video, but I moved to Ghana and started my whole life, including, you know, my opening up my business. I bought a motorcycle. I got my license. I mean, I extended my visa so many times. I mean, all for the cost of under like $5,000. I went there with $5,000 thinking that it would last me like 2 weeks to spend on vacation, and like you couldn't spend that kind of money if you tried. So it's definitely not as expensive as people think. If you actually are moving there and that's your only priority is to get there and stay there and establish yourself there, you don't need that much money and you will make it happen. So let's see. I worked tons of jobs, did construction, welding solar. Now I'm just a militant and guard, so they have armed service to protect people, and I can just be strapped for anything. Yeah, Mac. Yeah, you can pretty much be strapped for anything. They have armed guards sitting outside the banks and outside of specific government buildings and all that. So if you have a security background, I mean, that's definitely something you can take there and be fine. They'll actually probably be glad to see that you were trained for security in the U.S. So there are certain cards that you can pull by having that little blue passport. Motion graphics, video editing, and I'm a radio talent. Is there a market in Ghana for that? Absolutely. As far as all the first things you said, graphics, video editing, script writing, there's a huge market for that. You can open up your own business doing just graphic design, and you'll make enough to support yourself, and the rest of the stuff you do will just be to, you know, pursue your aspirations. As far as radio talent, yes, they love when people, especially people who are just great at speaking English and they don't have like a really thick accent that can get through to like full of all cultures. Obviously, I'm not being discriminatory. I'm just telling you how they do it. Even especially when you're looking at movie roles or acting, but because you have a really good speaking voice, you are almost in the door. So if you have that and you're looking to get into radio, I think that, yeah, you should definitely give it a go. How much was my ticket to Ghana? Is it smart to get it during off-peak seasons? And if so, what months are best to buy? I bought my ticket. I don't think it really matters what season, because there's only one. If you're trying to go straight there, like one way, I mean nonstop, there's only one way to do it, which is Delta, which flies out of New York and goes straight to Ghana. It takes 10 hours, and the price pretty much stays constant all year. If you get it within, I'll say within 2 weeks or a month or something like that, you're going to pay between $1,100 to $1,300 for a round trip. If you are able to do it within 3 months, give yourself 3 months out or something like that, you might get it for $700 or $800 going through like a travel agency or, you know, some kind of like discounted site that can get it for you ahead of time, Priceline or something like that. There's ways to get it cheaper. But it'll be between $700 to $1,300 for a round trip ticket to Ghana. I paid $12.50 for my ticket high season from the Netherlands. If you travel, maybe you would not even pay 500 euros. What does it cost to start a business? Is there a lot of red tape? That's actually one of my favorite things about it. There's almost no red tape to start a business. It took me less than 2 weeks to have my business open, like with people coming in, making orders. So the cost for me, it was about $500, 500 US, the equivalent of 500 US dollars for 1 year of office space. So that was $500 for the year of office space. Once I had the office in my possession, it cost me about the equivalent of 400 US dollars to paint it, get the electrical done, renovated, furniture, get the doors open. And then after that, so now we're up to about $900 or $1,000. Then I spent maybe another $300 or $400 to do the landscaping and to purchase signage. I had to get a big sign put outside the building and a big sign to put up the road on the corner to let people know that my business is down the street. So all in all, when everything was done, and then we brought on our first employee, all in all, about $2,500 was the cost to start my business, and the only red tape was to get a business permit from the city, which cost 100 cedis, $100 per year, which is about 25 or 30 some odd dollars for your taxes for the year for you to have a business in Ghana. So that's about all the red tape that there was, and within 2 weeks my business was open, and we were able to take customers, issue receipts, and etc., etc. No incorporation fees. That is the incorporation fee. Ours ended up being 100 Ghana dollars per year. Once you go up there to get incorporated or get your business permit, they basically will assess how much money they think your business is worth, or what you're going to be doing, or if you're an international conglomerate, or if you're a startup, or if you're going to be hiring locals. All these things go into the factor, and when they're trying to figure out how much they're going to charge you. And so when I'm primarily going to be building houses in Ghana, primarily going to be employing locals in Ghana, primarily all my capital and what I spend and even what I keep for myself is going to be spent back into the Ghanaian economy. So my taxes is $100 a year. So let me not miss a question. Mac. Oh, sorry, Mac. Yeah, construction, solar, and all that. Yeah, there's tons of jobs in that you can get. And then as far as you having security and armed services, yeah, they've got that too. Sorry if I missed it. Or if you missed it, you missed it. So you can make some jollof rice. No, I can't do it personally, but I got the girl who will make some jollof rice that knock your socks off, man. It's fufu too, man. You won't even know what to do with yourself having to come back here and eat some McDonald's or some Kentucky Fried Creatures. Let's see. So when I come to Ghana, will they give me a nice name? Yeah. So the way that works is the naming is based off the Akan naming system, AKAN. So when I got there, I met this really cool elder gentleman, and he taught me about how our names, or how their names in Ghana, everyone's name means something. So when you meet a person and you learn their name, you pretty much learn a little bit about them. So my name, based on the day I was born, day, year, and the order of my birth, first, second child, or whatever, is Kwame Manu. Kwame meaning born on a Saturday, one with God, ancient wise one, master of the antidote to the serpent's venom, and a bunch of other crap. And then Manu meaning second born child. Nana is a title that was given to me meaning king. So all together, or it means king / respected, is another, obviously in African languages it wouldn't mean the word king, but it's respectable titles like that. So Nana Kwame Manu would be the name that I was given, and if you go there, then you'll get a name based on your day, order, all that stuff and blah blah blah. And technically, there's multiple choices for each one. Like Saturday has Kwame, and it has a couple others for male, female, and other options like that. Your parents are supposed to choose one, or the person who names you is supposed to choose one. So you don't necessarily know what your name is just by looking it up. What are the gun laws like? The law is that you cannot have a gun. There. Thanks. I never knew this. Lucky Sunday Fun. What kind of jobs available as a satellite TV trainer? Is that, you mean like training on installation? If that's what you mean, then there's a lot of work for that. I actually live, the family who invited me there, they actually live right next door to this company called Cable Gold, which is the local cable company of Tema and Sakamoto. So they're always, they got their trucks running around. Everybody who's got cable in Ghana, being honest, you get your stuff maintenance more than you probably care to admit. And there's plenty of work in there for, a satellite TV trainer. You can either work for a company like Cable Gold or come over with a bunch of your friends and start up some competition, because God knows there could use a lot of competition with some of these big companies over there, like Vodafone. Anybody on here Ghanaian, you know about Vodafone. Man, Marcus, cover your ears for a second. Fuck Vodafone. Vodafone can kiss my ass. They're like the only they're like Verizon of Ghana. They're like the biggest phone company, so they feel like they can charge whatever they want, and like they're the worst. So you can either come and work for a company like that, or you can, come and try to start up some competition and get things going the way they need to go. Nana, do you take malaria pills when you go there, and do you buy them there or in the USA before you travel? Blah 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 blah. Not blah blah and you, Anna. I just knew what you were going to say. They have malaria pills there. Some people take them religiously, like it's like there's a plague there. I honestly never took it one time while I was there, and that happened to me. I'm more, I won't say reactionary, but as far as putting something in my body, I have to know that I need it. And so far, I haven't needed it at all, as far as a malaria pill. But they are available at local pharmacies. They're available in like little stores. Like everybody has them. Like, they're on hand because a lot of people take them because there isn't a lot of hype about malaria, obviously, from media sources. But as far as actual people having it, you rarely see it. Let's see. How'd you feel about Roots when they said Africans sold their own people in the beginning? I feel like Roots is just like every other Hollywood movie. It's made by people who want you to have a certain idea and an image in your head before you even, start learning about the facts. You got this thing already in your head that you were sold. So, that's what I think about that. Obviously, no, I don't believe that it's true. And let me just, to avoid a long drawn out story, let me put it to you this way. Let's say it was true. Let's say we were already selling each other, and then white people just came and, they saw that we were already selling each other, so they just joined in on the fun. Does that make the situation any different or any better? If there was a woman getting raped, and a person walked in the room and she was already being raped, and he just paid money to join in on the rape, does that make him any less of a rapist? Does that mean the woman needs any less of help? So I don't embrace the topic. I don't think that is the facts, especially being a person who's been to the slave dungeons and seen the slave dungeons and the things that were required to keep us in and to keep our armies out. African armies fought constantly 24/7 to break into those castles and get slaves out. They had to have constant armies on demand outside those castle walls, and they had to defend every ship that landed from being destroyed. So it doesn't make sense to me to even fathom, how a person would need guns and chains, to hold the people that's being handed over willingly. It just doesn't make any sense. So just based on common sense and the things I've seen with my own eyes and experiences and being inside the slave dungeons and, seeing how not voluntary it was, I don't subscribe to that magazine. Verizon, my bill is almost $200 for my smartphone. Yeah, Verizon is whacking. I'm telling y'all, it's crazy. Vodafone is like the Ghanaian Verizon. You know, a lot of those companies over there, you'll see that they have a lot of similarities to some companies you already are familiar with. What is the health system like in Ghana? You have the holistic health system, which is the one I embrace. They have what's called Aponte clinics, where you can go there for like sport, anything from, you know, oh, my stomach hurts to, oh, I broke my arm, and they'll heal you with herbs and wraps. No bull, no crap, 100% fact. I've had it happen twice. But then they also have the westernized medical system, which don't knock it if, you know, people love it, I guess, whatever. But it's there, and they have hospitals, doctors, nurses, everything that you can access here over there. There's people who get health insurance through their jobs. You know, there's it's pretty much similar. It's very similar. It's very similar. If you want to embrace that medical system, then everything, you won't be leaving anything behind by coming time. At the same time, if you want to embrace holistic medicine, you will find that it's a lot more accessible. It's a lot more authentic and genuine, and it's a lot more widespread and embraced. In Ghana, there's so much more, you know, it's so much easier to access, you know, herbal medicines as opposed to a pill for everything. And when I went to the Aponte clinic, I actually became a regular. I was going there for a leg injury, so I had to go there for several times for a couple of months. And I would go there, and every other week there would be these French students there, and I would talk to the head doctor who was treating me. And he would let me know that those were students who come there from France, and it's not just France, they come there from other places too, but to actually learn from this hole-in-the-wall clinic in the middle of nowhere. This is not in Accra, the capital of Ghana. It's not even in Tema, where I live. This is in the middle of nowhere in some off-shack hospital. You have students flying in from Italy, France, and everywhere else to learn about these herbs and learn about these mixtures and learn about these wraps even today. You know, from these Ghanaian doctors. So the health system, it varies, but they have everything you have and more. Let's see. In Nigeria for 10 years teaching. I'll be coming in 3 weeks to Accra. I hope you have a great trip there. I hope you have a great time. Hey, you got to stop by my place in Sakamono, Dream Crafters Architecture. Go holler at my guy Isaac Coomson. If I'm not there by then, you know, just tell him I said what's up, and he'll show you around. He'll tell you a good time in the city. How's your outlook on America now that you are bombarded by the U.S. media lies? My outlook on America hasn't really changed. The things I learned about America are what made me want to leave in the first place. And since I've seen what they show Ghanaians on TV, it hasn't made me feel any better. So, yeah, my outlook on America is still what it is. It's not the place to be. It's a place we need to be trying to get out of at all costs, like it's our next breathing, you know, gasp of air. Let's see. We need to go see the dungeons in Ghana. Yes, you do. Everybody who has ever thought about going to see those slave dungeons, you need to. And I guess since this is the third time it came up, I'll go ahead and say what I was trying to say about it. It's something that you can't really experience unless you've been there. No matter how many times you read about it or how many times that you've seen a movie about it, going in that room, you know, and hearing that like 200 people used to sit in this room with like one brick taken out for light, you know, and they used to eat, sleep, piss, shit, and live in this room. You know, it's something that you're just not gonna forget. You know what I mean? It was something that I was invited to go see that after it was made clear that I wanted to stay. And after I saw all the horrible, terrible stuff there was to see in the dungeons, they told me that the real reason they wanted me to go was to see this thing called the Door of No Return. So I'm going to describe this one time, so I don't have to do it again. There's this tunnel. that the slaves would have to go through, and is the last thing that a slave would see before they would be put on the ship to leave. The tunnel is not even tall enough for you to stand up in, and your hands will be shackled to your feet, and you walking from underneath the castle all the way through this underground tunnel, and you walking all the way to the beach, and you walk out this doorway, and when you leave the doorway, there's nothing left but sand and then a boat for you to get on. And so as you walk down the tunnel, they sent the slaves one by one, whether it was 100 slaves or 10,000 slaves. They went one by one because they didn't want them to come up with no plots, no ideas, no escape mechanisms. And at the end of the tunnel, before you would walk out onto the beaches to the boat, there was this doorway called the Door of No Return. And written on the doorway, in the writing still is there to this day, in all these olden languages and these old English languages, it says, you and your posterity and you and your seed will never see these lands again, will never set eyes on these shores. And it's just powerful. It's like, it's crazy. Like, somebody put this here, and those words were meant to scar somebody. The last thing you're ever supposed to see is to know that you will never, your seed will never return to its origin. And so when they find out that you actually want to come back and you want to stay there, and this is what you want to reconnect with, it turns into an honor. They see that as an honor. I was taken there, and I was shown there, and I was taken there so that I could spit on that door. And I did. I spit on that door so hard, I hawked up a ancestral spit, like this for massa. But it was an experience, you know what I mean? And it's something that I feel like every black person should be able to go and see. Every black person should see those dungeons. I see a lot of people saying they would love to visit, but make it something that you make an effort to do, because, man, it's something that you're not gonna forget, and it'll change your worldview. You'll never go back home and sit up talking about how Africans sold you into slavery, or no dumb coon nigga stupid shit like that again. I'm sorry, but that had to be said. Now, let me see. How are people holding up with the flood? Also, I'm sure they treat people in the LGBT community better in Ghana how they treat them in America. Ironically, that's absolutely true, and it's funny because we have, like, in Ghana, you've got people just like in America, everybody from your quote-unquote DL people to your people who just don't give a damn. We got this one guy who lives in Timma in our neighborhood. It'll be a hot-ass day. He'll come outside in his one-piece denim jumpsuit, don't give a shit. And the worst that I've seen happen is the girls, they laugh at him. You walk past the guy's house and some of the girl will be like, oh, that one gay guy lives here, That's nothing that I haven't seen happen or worse in America to people who have, their own sexual preferences, whatever. So that's one thing. As far as the flood goes, it's I'm not there right now, but from my family that I'm talking to, it was not as bad as what these pictures are showing. There was a flood that hit Accra around the 9th, and there were a couple, from what I'm quoting, a few casualties were reported. A few. Now, these pictures that are floating around the internet of people just, swept away, buildings all under, whatever, those are from a flood that happened years ago. Now, I don't know if there's someone who's just trying to honestly raise awareness and they don't have the pictures that they need, and they just feel like using those pictures might get the attention of people, or if somebody's intentionally trying to make it seem like the flood that's happened, on the 9th is this big catastrophe to distract from something else. I don't know, but the fact is that a lot of these pictures that you see floating around that look like this huge catastrophe is from a flood that happened years ago. Let's see. Who can we purchase land from and what are the rules? Just inbox me and I'll try to answer that. But there's firms that can do it. There's firms, like if you just look online, there's a lot of firms that do nothing but land purchases, but again, that can get really expensive. You actually want to try to maybe, I wouldn't recommend like a Facebook friend, or not even like me, like I'm not biased, I'll say it, not even me, you know, but if you know someone who genuinely knows someone that lives there, you know, that would be a great way for you to find some cheap, affordable land, and you know, not have to pay all these surcharges, agency fees, jack up, markup, you know, and you know, all that. So just an idea. Do you drive stick shift there? A lot of people do, because again, fuel is everything and fuel is very expensive. So a lot of people, they drive stick shift. I don't drive stick shift because I can't. I started learning how, and I just figure like I'm more of a person who has to have their hands free. I like to change the channel on the radio and all that good stuff. I can't just like have